Good morning, everyone. I would like to say thank you for joining us today on this really auspicious occasion. This is exciting to know that the frontline people and first responders are not just being recognized but also being supported by a very, very important initiative. I wish to thank the media for being here as well, the BBC and also the Royal Gazette. As we celebrate this moment, we want to also recognize that everyone has to go through their journey. I am a frontline worker. I am soon to be retired Chief Nursing Officer of the Department of Health. And I have had a real difficult time deciding whether or not to have the vaccine. So my husband calls me vaccine anti-vaxxer, and I said I'm not. I am a vaccine hesitant person. So yesterday I ended that journey. I did go and have my vaccine, and each of us have to. Thank you. Each of us have to really go through that, determining what's priorities for us, and what was priority for me was my family. And that is so important, keeping them safe, but most of all, keeping myself safe. And I'm glad I did it. I was really afraid. I was really scared, hearing the horror stories and everything. I was able to put that aside. I did say to the nurse as she was doing it, please make sure you have the sharpest needle because I'm the biggest baby. But before I was finished even saying it, she said it's over. I did have a little bit of itching, but that's gone. I'm fine. And what I want to say is the Frontline Foundation, is here to support the frontline workers and the initiative that we have started with, the vaccine initiative, the brainchild of the founder of the Frontline Foundation, who is Sean McNulty. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to him. And Sean, we are very much appreciative of you and your efforts to make sure that our community are protected. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks very much, Gaynell, and thank you very much for joining the Frontline Foundation and doing your part. Good morning, everyone. As Gaynell mentioned, my name is Sean McNulty. I'm an entrepreneur and business owner. I'm co-founder and portfolio manager of an investment management company based in Canada. I moved to Bermuda past November with my wife Jana as part of the remote worker residency program. I can do my job from anywhere in the world, and I picked Bermuda for so many reasons that matter. We've visited Bermuda many times in our life, and we've always loved it here. And even amid the new COVID restricted era, that feeling has grown even stronger ever since we officially moved our lives here. This is one of the most beautiful places on earth and has some of the friendliest people of anywhere that I've ever been. People are kind to each other here, and everyone has been so welcoming to us since we've arrived. You know, the simple act of saying good morning, good evening, or good day with a smile is just something that makes me feel good. It's something that everyone here does without even thinking about it. So I feel lucky to be here. I feel lucky to have the opportunity to become a member of this community. And Bermuda is a special place. It has a special place for both me and my family. My father was a police officer in Bermuda in the 1970s, and his energy is contagious when he talks about his memories here in Bermuda. He describes his time here as some of the best years of his life. My mother was a teacher. She also came here for work when she was younger. My parents actually met because of Bermuda. My wife Jana and I have traveled here many times over the years. She also has family that lives here and has worked here for almost the past decade now. Like many others, they came to Bermuda, fell in love, and didn't want to leave. Being an active member of my community, contributing where I can, and helping to make a difference are things that always have and always will be really important to me. Like all of you, I want to see Bermuda back to the way we all know and love it. Busy streets and businesses, restaurants and bars open and full, and a flourishing social community of happy people living life to the fullest. I think the Frontline Foundation can help with that. First responders and frontline workers are of course important to all of us. Their role in the community is something that hits very close to home for me personally as well. As I mentioned, my father was a police officer. My father-in-law was also a police officer, actually the chief of police. My wife is a registered pharmacist and academic detailer. She even volunteered some of her time before we left Canada at COVID testing centers. Her entire job, which she also does remotely from here in Bermuda, is about evaluating evidence and data and communicating about that with physicians. My mother-in-law was a registered nurse, and my own mother was a teacher. I think we would all agree that frontline and essential workers are important all the time, but that's even more apparent during these unprecedented times of the COVID-19 crisis. That's the inspiration for the launch of this Frontline Foundation. We're an independent, private foundation, and our mission is simple. We want to support the first responders and frontline workers here in Bermuda in ways that also support the livelihood of this community. In times like this, it's much more than the first responders that are putting themselves on the line to help the community, both by choice and necessity. Taxi drivers, bus drivers, ferry conductors, restaurant workers, teachers, and many more are putting themselves in harm's way to keep the wheels of the community turning. I mentioned that my profession is in corporate finance, so I'm no expert in healthcare. When it comes to my healthcare decisions, I trust the information and advice from experts in that field. My wife, the pharmacist, tells me, my mother-in-law, the nurse, tells me, my doctors tell me, and healthcare authorities in Bermuda and all across the globe tell me. The real-world evidence overwhelmingly tells me the way out of this COVID era. They tell me that getting people protected against the virus with vaccines is the fastest and most effective way out of this mess. They tell me it worked for polio, it worked for measles, and it will work for COVID. And I believe them. As of yesterday's update, Bermuda is now more than 50% vaccinated and protected against this virus. We have almost defeated it. The time to make the final push is now. Which brings us to our first initiative for the Frontline Foundation, which we're proudly launching here today. I'm making an initial $500,000 commitment to support the Frontline Foundation on this initial campaign to help Bermuda with this fight. We're purchasing $50 gift cards to local businesses to help stimulate the economy as we continue with our recovery. We're giving these gift cards to frontline responders and workers as a special thanks for doing their part for the community. And for the next 7 days, we're also giving a gift card to every person 16 years of age or older that comes out and gets a vaccine. So far, we've focused our spending efforts on businesses where people who are struggling during this crisis can get the things they really need, groceries, pharmacies, things like that, and on businesses that have been particularly hard hit by the pandemic, like restaurants, salons, and activity centers. We're giving these gift cards not only to the first responders and traditional frontliners like police, firefighters, the regiment, and healthcare workers, but also others that have found themselves at the forefront of this crisis. People like taxi drivers, bus drivers, volunteers at testing and vaccination centers. We want the entire community to be part of this and to make this initiative successful. If you know of an individual or group of frontline responders or workers who have gone above and beyond, please reach out to us and single them out for acclaim and post on our social media. We've only allocated about half of our budget so far. So if you have a business that can quickly make gift cards and you want to support the frontline workers, please reach out to us. Tell us how you're fighting the COVID crisis, and hopefully we can work with you too. We are funded for this initiative, but if you feel inclined to donate or offer gift cards to contribute to the frontline workers or those getting vaccinated, please reach out to us as well, and we'd be happy to talk to you about it. I'll now hand things over to my colleague and fellow Frontline Foundation board member, Jennifer Berlin-Adams, who can share a little bit more with you and summarize the details of this first Frontline Foundation initiative. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sean, and good morning. So it was only 29 days ago that Sean reached out to me with this sort of kernel of an idea that he had in his head. And 29 days later, I'm very proud to share that we started this morning at the hospital and gave out our first $50 gift cards to the people who were being vaccinated there this morning. As Sean mentioned, we started today and we will continue for the next 7 days. We will be at all vaccination locations, the hospital, the Bermuda College, and at all the mobile centers. And today we have with us Dr. Freddie Evans, who's running the show here at Bermuda College, and Dr. Ricky Braithwaite, who's in charge of the mobile locations. And so we're really pleased to have them here today and supporting this initiative. So how does it work? It's super easy. We hope that you will take some time today and in the next 7 days and pop by the Bermuda College, or set up an appointment at the hospital, or pop by one of the mobile locations that are located throughout the island. And when you arrive here, all you do is go in and get your vaccination, and when you're done with your 15 minutes of recovery, we will be there to hand you a $50 gift card to thank you for doing your part and helping our community be safer and healthier. In addition, once you have done that, we will be donating on your behalf a gift card to a first responder or a frontline worker. And as Sean mentioned, that's an initial $500,000 that we are supporting local businesses by giving out gift cards, thanking our frontline workers and our first responders, and thanking everyone who comes in to get a vaccination if they are 16 years and older. So I think that is it for us today. And I thank you all for coming to this press conference. We're super excited, and we have a website and social media, and we hope that you will follow us, share with your friends and family. Frontline Foundation. Thank you.
Okay, now we can open up the floor to any questions anybody has. Any questions?
In the meantime, while we wait for that, we do have a question on how you chose which frontline workers will be getting the initial gift card.
So an important part of this initiative is that we're including the entire community. And as I mentioned, with the budget that we have and the initial campaign that we're on, we have a sufficient amount of gift cards to include the entire community. It's not just those on the front line that are vaccinated. We're including everyone regardless of their opinion, personal views, because we're thanking them for the role they serve in the community on the front line. We'll initially be including police, firefighters, regiment, hospital workers, but as also noted, we're going to try and include other members of the community, particularly those that have been hit harder by the restrictions and the implications to the economy of the COVID-19 crisis.
Okay. Also, next question, is this foundation anything to do with the government?
No, so this is a private foundation. As I mentioned, I think I wanted to be a member of the community and contribute and get involved, get to know the people I'm now living with in the place I now call home. We're doing this privately outside of the government. I think that by having a private foundation and communicating to a lot of people in the community, some of the reservations or hesitation around the vaccination weren't necessarily that people were against it, but that they didn't want to feel rushed, they didn't want to be told what to do, and they wanted to make the decision themselves. So it's a private foundation, an independent initiative. We're happy to thank everyone that's from the government that's providing the facilities and the vaccinations for people to be able to get it if they make that choice, but ultimately is their choice. We hope that they decide to get it, but it's a private foundation and their choice on whether or not to proceed with it. Well, thanks everyone again for coming. Really appreciate it. And like I said, please reach out to us and follow us on social media. Share positive feedback about frontline workers in our community, and let's all work together to hopefully make a difference. So thank you for doing your part.